Hello and welcome to Newsroom series, this edition covering the Southeast. I am Bukola Koka, and we start off in Anambra State, where the governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, has commissioned the newly built roads totaling 14.62 kilometers in Adazi and Anyocha local government area. The roads were constructed by a patriotic son of the community, Mr. Chinedu Madubuko, who heeds the call by the governor for a public-private community partnership in the state development. The governor commends the zeal with which private citizens are supporting the initiative, assuring them also that the state will celebrate them while they live, even as more quality roads will be done in Anambra in 4 years under his watch, more than any 8-year administration.
It's a happy day for the people of Adazi as they welcome the governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, as he visits to commission a 14.62-kilometer stretch of road built by Mr. Chinedu Madubuko, in line with Governor Soludo's call for private citizens' participation and collaboration towards accelerating Anambra infrastructural development. In his welcome address, the benefactor, speaking through his son, appreciates the governor for always identifying with the people, adding that the road built will inspire other well-to-do citizens to align with the public-private community partnership initiative of Professor Chukwuma Soludo.
The roads you will be commissioning today is a demonstration that people are buying into your mantra of PPCP. It further goes to buttress the fact that even if all the budget is dedicated to roads only, the state will still be deficient in road network. Your presence in our community today to commission these roads further reinforces your commitment to encouraging community partnership with government.
For the governor, with what the state is doing in road infrastructure and the partnerships, Anambra will witness unprecedented infrastructural development. He notes that those supporting the initiative will be celebrated as well.
We are on course in 4 years. In 4 years, we will be able to deliver to the Anambra more than any government has done in 8 years. We're going to take it community by community. So, we'll go to 0.1 kilometer or 0.01 or whatever thing, email here or tele. We will articulate all of them. We'll go around the 179 communities and compile them. And I will publicly acknowledge all of you.
Commissioning the 14.62-kilometer road project, Governor Soludo reiterates that public resources are limited, and for quick development, citizens should contribute their own resources. He commends the donor and calls on others to emulate the gesture.
The people who fly on this road will fly in safety, and God will continue to replenish you, continue to encourage you with life and good health, and continue to make you prosperous, because to whom much is given, much is expected.
The event also provides an opportunity for the governor to restate his commitment to cater to the needs of the poor, the needy, and the vulnerable in the state in the face of the biting inflation and hunger.
The Abia state government has expressed its determination to curb the menace of street begging, drug abuse and cultism among youths, saying the war against abuse of drugs and substances must be won to save the entire country from dire consequences. Addressing newsmen in Umuahia, the state capital, shortly after a sensitization program with various youth bodies, student unions of all tertiary institutions and security agencies, the Director General of Abia State Orientation Agency, Mr. Dike Nwankwo, says the sensitization is ongoing across the state and the state government will deploy all within its reach to rid the state of drug abuse and other social vices.
In Abia, we discovered that all the life of our young ones are ravaged by drug addiction. People no longer think normal. They think that taking drugs is the way to go. You hear them talking about colos, mporomiri, and all of that. So we felt it's necessary to begin to address this. We discourage begging and we cannot encourage it no matter what. But on the side of the government, I have hinted here, we have an SA on vulnerable groups and poverty alleviation. We have the Ministry of Women Affairs and Rural Development that are handling some projects from the World Bank, empowering people to get something doing. So all these programs are geared towards taking people out of the streets from begging. So from the point of view of the government is serious about pulling people out of the streets. But you must be willing and be willing to do exactly what the government will want you to do.
And in the meantime, the State Office on Homeland Security, in conjunction with the National Drugs Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, Abia State, have carried out raids on notorious hard drug hotspots in Umuahia, the state capital. During the raids, a female narcotics distribution kingpin identified as Adobe Nweke was apprehended. Briefing journalists on the outcome of the raids, the Deputy Governor of Abia State, Okechukwu Emetu, notes that the state government is determined to rid the state of all forms of criminal activity.
Right from the inception of this very government, we already promised in Abia, the people of Abia, concerning our plans to make sure that we flush out all guise of criminality in the state. Law Panther happens to be one of the problems we had as a state, where a whole lot of kidnapping activities were being perpetrated, and where loved ones lost their family members, and we've been able to, control that very aspect. And coming down to drugs, it happens to be the bedrock of all criminal activities that can be done by any group of people. Abia isn't a safe haven for any criminal. All drug kingpins, the directives from the governor of Abia State is very clear. Stay away from Abia State. We don't need you. You are not part of the development of the state. We need peace-loving people, those that want to develop the state. Drugs can't develop Abia State. We want our youth to be safe and very useful to the government of Abia State.
And now, joining us for further discussions on the drug bursts in Abia State is the Special Advisor to the State Governor on Media and Publicity, Mr. Ferdinand Ekioma. Mr. Ekioma, thank you for joining us on Newsroom Series.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the joint team of the State NDLEA and Abia Homeland Security is reporting a recovery of 1,217 kilograms of drugs. Tell us more about the classification of these drugs that have been recovered.
Okay, they have it's made up of cocaine, heroin. There's one they call Mkpurumili, and many others, methamphetamine and all the rest of them. But the most important thing here is that that was for us, it was a serious breakthrough. And our position and the position of this government is that the foundation of all crimes and criminality is a hard drug. So it was a well thought out decision by the Homeland Security in conjunction with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency to bust the hideouts of these criminal elements and also to get rid of them from every nook and cranny of Abia. They've gotten the message, and the message is very clear that Abia cannot serve as a safe haven for any criminal element. Because it's easy to understand that nobody indulges in kidnapping, in assassination, in armed robbery, invasion of security headquarters and all of them in clear eyes. You must be under the influence of different kinds of drugs for you to have the audacity to commit all these heinous crimes. So as much as our government, the government of Dr. Alex Otti, is doing a lot to empower our youth to create economic security, we must also strive to ensure that those criminal elements who have vowed to destroy the lives of our youth and create a platform for all kinds of criminality are not allowed to set their foot in any part of Abia. So that's what we are doing. And, the reactions from the members of the public say a lot about the excitement, about the appreciation of this noble decision or noble action that the government has taken.
Now, Mr. Ekioma, to what extent had these drugs before now been fueling crime and criminality in Abia State?
Okay, for example, if you, at a point in the last 2 years or 3 years or thereabout, it has become a very pronounced activity here used, taking all kinds of, there's one they call loud, they have this, the Ankpurumiri and all the rest of them. It was becoming a common practice for use to, dwell on drugs, even make fun of it, celebrate with drugs, do all kinds of things. An investigation by security agencies, has confirmed that this is inspiring a lot of youth to get involved in all kinds of, criminal activities. And of course, if you look at the record in the last few years, you see that kidnapping and other criminal activities took a different dimension. For example, on assumption of office, the governor of Abia State declared state of emergency in security, including other areas. And now a particular area in the state called Law Panta in Umunochi, local government area of Abia State, was serving as a safe haven for kidnappers. Don't forget that it was there that the prelate of Methodist Church in Nigeria was kidnapped 2 years ago, and it was alleged that the church paid the sum of 100 million before he was released. So when the governor set up the Joint Security Task Force, codenamed Operation Crush, they swung into action, invaded the forest and that area of the states, and a whole lot of things were discovered. In fact, that was what led to the decision to fence the Law Panta cattle market, because a lot of things were traceable, were traced to the markets. And a lot of discoveries were made. We found out that there were a lot of notorious drug peddlers, who have built very solid infrastructure there where they were operating, carrying out all kinds of activities, importing and exporting. And then, following the discoveries made by the government, it was easy to understand that this drug peddling or these hard drugs played a very critical role in emboldening the criminals to do what they were doing. So, but the onslaught carried out by the government through Operation Crush has reduced drastically the activities of these people. Now that we are destroying the foundation, the infrastructure, identifying through intelligence gathering the criminals behind this across the state, I'm sure by the special grace of God, we are going to reduce the activities of drug peddlers and criminality by extension very drastically.
And I'm sure the expectation is that more progress will be recorded from that operation. But going forward
Absolutely.
now, what form is the youth sensitization by is it the Homeland Security now, or an arm of the state government? What form is it taking to sensitize youths to desist from indulging in substance abuse? And what structure is the state government putting in place to ensure its sustainability beyond the lifespan of this current administration? Thank
you. On assumption of office, we had this Abia State Orientation Agency that had become moribund, was just almost non-existent. Nothing was being heard about it. The governor decided to revive it and appointed the Director General. And of course, it was just aired in the news now by your platform, the one-day seminar that was done by the Abia State Orientation Agency, where the NDLEA and the rest of them, where other government agencies were represented. You understand? The agency used that opportunity to enlighten our youth on the negative effects, the consequences of drug abuse of any kind. You understand? So that is one of the mechanisms, put awareness, and beyond that seminar, because that seminar was just, yes, that was a one-off one, but measures are being put in place to ensure that it is a continuous exercise. Also, road shows had been done in different parts of the states, and more are going to be done, to ensure that our people are up to date with the plans and programs of the government, with the position of government regarding drug abuse. And again, with the appointment of orientation officers across the 17 local governments of the states, youths who are going to work on permanent basis, they will be able to drive this orientation, to the grassroots. And above all, because this is a government and we are trying to build a very strong institution that will outlive this government, we just do not want to do an ad hoc something that will cease to exist once the lifespan of this government comes to an end. So what we are doing is to put an effective mechanism in place, collaborate with all the necessary state and federal government agencies to drive the awareness, to ensure sustainability in these policies, the policies and programs of government aimed at empowering our youth, aimed at making our youth understand the implication of drug abuse. So the necessary mechanism is being put in place to ensure sustainability. And of course, we are already seeing the result, because with what happened yesterday, I'm sure, for example, one of the places that was busted, the place has been deserted because these guys now built a formidable structure there, and people were avoiding that particular area. So they didn't see the onslaught coming, and it happened. So with the way they went about this, I'm sure if there were other people that have not been uncovered, they will begin to realize that there is danger, and they will take to their heels. So sustainability measures have been put in place.
Yeah, and we hope there's more to come from that. But following the arrest of the female narcotics distribution kingpin that we saw in that video, I believe by the name Adobe Nweke, what leads are security agencies getting from investigating her and perhaps those who are working with her, particularly about how these drugs are finding their way into Abia State in the first place, and perhaps sponsors of these drugs?
Thank you. In fact, that is the most Herculean task which the Homeland Security and the NDLEA are presently trying to execute, because the supply chain, the distribution chain is very, very important. Because if you just pick up these guys, if they have suppliers, of course, their suppliers can always move on and deal with others. So that is discrete investigation. Of course, this is security. It's not everything that the NDLA and the Homeland Security will make public. So even when they paraded them and created the necessary awareness, others were still on the lookout for those who may have escaped, those who may have gotten hint of the onslaught and ran away. And with the information, the necessary pieces of information that have been gathered so far, investigation has already commenced, and breakthrough is already being recorded. They are all going to be identified. It's very important. So NDLA and the Homeland Security are doing that, but it's not everything that they're going to disclose to the public at this point in time. By the time they make more progress, and of course, they will still organize another press briefing where the details of all the breakthrough, the achievements, the successes, the information, and everything that they may have gathered will be made public. All
right. The discretion that you have exhibited is totally understood, Mr. Nweke. Thank you very much. Mr. Ferdinand Ekioma is the special advisor to the state governor, Abia State Governor, on media and publicity. Thank you so much for your time on Newsroom Series.
Thank you.
And still to come on the program, the Imo State Police Command has arrested 4 suspected members of the Vikings fraternity involved in various crimes in Imo State. We'll bring you details of this and more after this break. Stay with us.
Investing.
Welcome back. The Imo State Police Command has arrested 4 suspected members of the Vikings fraternity allegedly involved in various degrees of crime in Mbieri, Mbaitoli local government area of the state. Briefing newsmen after parading the suspects at the command headquarters in Owerri, the Imo State capital, the police spokesman says the operatives of the command's anti-vice squad acted on credible intelligence, stormed the criminal hideout of the cult group, and on sighting police operatives, they opened fire but were subdued by the superior firepower of the gallant operatives. He says in the process, one of the suspects sustained gunshot injuries. The police spokesperson also said the suspects will be arraigned in court upon completion of a comprehensive investigation. And on the recent attack on a correctional center in Okigwe local government area, the police spokesman says all efforts are on top gear to fish out the perpetrators.
In furtherance to the command's zeal of flushing out criminally minded elements in the state, operatives of the command special tactical squad arrested 4 suspected cultists. We arrested them after engaging them in a protracted gun duel and recovered 2 locally made revolver guns from them and live cartridges. The Commissioner of Police, Imo State Command, CP Aboki Danjuma, has directed the Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of the State Criminal Investigations Department to carry out a comprehensive investigation and make sure that these suspects are made to face the full wrath of the law. And also, one of their criminal syndicates, the gang leader named Slim, is still at large, and we are equally intensifying efforts to arrest him as well as the manufacturers of these locally made guns and make them face the full wrath of the law.
And in Enugu State, Governor Peter Mbah has inaugurated the Enugu State Security Trust Fund to build on the successes achieved in the area of security in the state. Inaugurating the 11-member board of trustees of the trust fund, chaired by the Group Managing Director of AfriInvest Trustees Limited, Mr. Ike Chioke, Governor Mbah noted that the projected security expenditure for 2024, which is pegged at 20 billion naira, will only be achieved if the private sector partners with the government. And on his part, the BOT chairman, Mr. Ike Chioke, commends the Mbah administration for containing security in the state and for activating the Security Trust Fund 4 years after it was signed into law. And joining us for more on the state government's Trust Fund initiative is the director of the Trust Fund itself, Mr. Ike Chioke. He is also the Group Managing Director of AfriInvest Trustees Limited. Mr. Chioke, thank you for joining us on Newsroom Series.
Thank you, Nkiru. Pleased to meet you.
And as we start off, tell us more about the Trust Fund initiative and the potential of it to transform the fortunes of Anambra State as far as security is concerned.
I think you meant Enugu State.
Enugu State, pardon me.
Yes, thank you. I think we live today with issues of insecurity being perhaps foremost in the mind of most Nigerians. It is affecting our economy, it is affecting our livelihood, and it's also causing poverty and hunger in the land because people can no longer go to the farms. I recall a quote by Robert McNamara, who was once the Secretary of Defense in the US. He said, security is not about military hardware, though it includes it. Security is not about military or police force, though it involves it. Security is about development, without which there can be no security. And hence, you see, therefore, the link between development and security. And for Governor Peter Mbah, this has been the sort of the anchor of his intervention initiative since he was sworn. How do you develop Enugu State and move it from an economy of $4 billion to $30 billion? And what we found immediately was that security was going to be a challenge, which is why we focused on security. And so the Trust Fund, the Security Trust Fund, has been established essentially to help organize the efforts around security in the state and give it more focus and try to bring all the citizens and all the stakeholders into that spectrum.
So what's the mandate of the 11-member board of trustees managing the Enugu State Security Trust Fund initiative?
Well, there are 7 key objectives that we have. The first is actually fundraising, sourcing for funds for acquiring and deploying security equipment and carrying out other activities of the fund. That's the first and foremost. And I suppose that's why His Excellency Governor Peter Mbah wanted me to share it, given my background in financial services. And I do note, however, that I've been mistaken twice as the Managing Director of AfriInvest Trustees. Actually, my title is Group Managing Director of AfriInvest West Africa, of which AfriInvest Trustees is a subsidiary of the group. The second objective of the trust fund is to act as an intervention agency and help organize all the security agencies operating within the state. As you know, you have the military, you have the police, you have the road safety, you have vigilante groups at the local government and township levels. Sometimes they are working at cross purposes, and the Security Trust Fund will help to make sure everybody is working in sync. The third objective is to provide money for the acquisition and deployment of human, material, financial resources that shall be necessary to prevent crime and preserve public security across the entire state. The fourth objective is to promote the efficiency in all security organizations in the state. I mentioned, the different tiers of security services we have. The fifth, hold for the benefit of the citizens of the state any gifts, any donations of properties, of monies, because obviously when you're a fund and you go out to galvanize funds for the trust fund, it has to be held in a secure, transparent, and accessible manner for the state. And sixth is to acquire and deploy those funds to purchase the resources necessary. And last but not the least is to ensure that all stakeholders are involved in security. It's not just the government, even the citizens must view security as critical.
Quite a Herculean task that you have there. I really do not envy you, and we wish you all the best as you embark on that task of achieving a safe Abia state for all Abia citizens. Would like to thank you.
Enugu State.
Enugu State, pardon me again. Enugu State. We've been speaking with the Group Managing Director, AfriInvest Trustees West Africa. You corrected us earlier. AfriInvest West Africa, Dr. Ike Chiuki. Thank you so much for your time on Newsroom Series.
Thank you.
And this marks the end of the program. Thank you so much for watching. Join us again next week when we bring you another round of editions. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.